Mina had always prided herself on being fearless. After all, she was a seasoned traveler, having journeyed through some of the world's most remote and challenging places. But that night, as she boarded the sparsely populated bus heading into the outskirts of the city, she felt a strange sense of unease. The driver, an older man with a weathered face, glanced at her in the rearview mirror as she took a seat near the back. She was the only passenger. The bus roared to life and trundled down the empty streets, its headlights slicing through the inky darkness. As the city lights faded, the rhythmic hum of the engine began to lull Mina into a light sleep. She was just about to doze off when she felt a sudden, cold breath on the back of her neck. She whipped around, expecting to see someone behind her, but the seats were empty. Mina shook her head, convinced it was her imagination. She settled back into her seat, but the feeling of being watched grew stronger. She glanced at the reflection in the window and froze. There, in the seat directly behind her, was the faint outline of a figure. Heart pounding, Mina turned again, but the seat was still empty. She could feel her pulse racing, and she decided to move closer to the front of the bus. As she stood up, the bus hit a bump, causing her to stumble. A cold, clammy hand gripped her ankle, sending a jolt of terror through her body. She yanked her foot free and hurried to the front, sitting just behind the driver. She opened her mouth to speak, but the words caught in her throat. The driver's eyes met hers in the rearview mirror, and he gave her a knowing look. "You saw him, didn't you?" the driver asked in a low, gravelly voice. Mina nodded, her voice barely a whisper. Who was that?" The driver sighed, keeping his eyes on the road. "They say this bus is haunted by the spirit of a man who died here years ago. He's looking for someone to keep him company." Mina's skin crawled as she felt the cold presence growing stronger. She could see the figure's reflection in the rearview mirror now, sitting just a few rows behind her. The driver pulled over to the side of the road and opened the door. "This is your stop," he said firmly, though they were still far from her destination. Mina didn't argue. She grabbed her bag and bolted off the bus, not looking back. As the bus doors closed and it pulled away, she could still see the ghostly figure's eyes staring at her from the rear window. She never took that route again.